Alright folks, I'm here at the Boardwalk at Walt Disney World, and just over there you can see is the ESPN Club, which is where we're going to go and watch the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. But before there, we're going to go to the Big River Grill and Brewing Works to have ourselves a craft beer. Okay folks, well we're inside, and what I've decided to do in my limited time is they actually have a flight where you can sample all 7 beers. So what I'm going to be doing is getting a sample of all 7 beers, and I got my flight coming up right now, which gives a brief description of each one, including their seasonal beer, and I'll go through and give a brief description while I review them. Not really a review since it's just samples, but just to give you the idea. And if you notice behind me, you can see the brew kettles are right behind me, so that's where the beers are coming from. It's loud in here, so I'm going to do my best to make sure that I keep my voice towards the camera so that you can hear everything, and I'll try to over-pronunciate things, so if you can't hear me, maybe you can at least read my lips. So as soon as the flight gets here, we'll go ahead and sample each of these beers. All 7 beers in front of me. We're going to get ready to do the flight, and basically they go from light to dark, and with the exception of, for whatever reason, the summer wheat is at the end. But anyway, I'm going to go through, give a brief description and taste profile of each beer. The first one up is called the Southern Flyer Light Lager, and basically it's the lightest beer, and it's a traditional lager. 3.6% alcohol by volume, and IBU of 12. You get a sweet, fruity grain type aroma to it. You get more or less just a very light traditional Pilsner to me. It's actually a light lager. It does have some of those candy sweetnesses that made me think it was a Pilsner, but it's not. Next up is the Gadzooks Pilsner, so this is a Pilsner. This is using a European-style Pilsner with a sublime Czech Zach hop. So ABV on this one is 5%, and the bitterness unit is at 32, which really jumps up. Yeah, real traditional smell to it. Nothing really stands out to me. Got a big malt bill. It almost smells like a domestic lager. A little bit more heavier bitterness to it than the first one. A little bit more grain-like flavor to it. That is very much more like your domestic lager. I think the first one was a little bit more enjoyable. Moving on to the Steamboat Pale Ale. This one's 5.5% alcohol with 36 units of bitterness. And they're saying that I should get some pine and citrus off of it. There's not a heavy dose of pine or citrus in the nose. That's not uncommon when you're doing these samplers, so I'm hoping we get that distinct flavor and the taste compared to the Pilsners and the lager. And now we're picking up the bitterness unit on that. You do get a pine-like flavor in a profile in the taste, and it's such a distinction. It's such different from the first two that if I didn't know it was a pale ale, you can almost trick me to say it's a light pale, light IPA. Moving on is the Rocket Red Ale. Obviously it's a red ale. 5.6% alcohol by volume, 46 IBUs, so even more bitterness than the pale ale. And this one here is an award winner. It won a bronze medal at the Great American Beer Festival for a red ale in, doesn't say what year. We get a little bit more fruity notes on this. A bigger malt grain bill that I can smell. I don't get like that butterscotch that you typically find in a red ale, so let's see if we get it in the taste. Or caramel. That's actually pretty good. I could see why it won an award, because even though it's a red ale, which tend to have a big malt bill, this one does have some bitterness in it, which I like, because sometimes with these red ales, they can be a little bit too malty. In this case, it's a good blend of malt and bitterness. I don't find it amazing or anything like that, but I do enjoy when I'm drinking it. Next up is another award winner. This one is the Sweet Magnolia American Brown Ale. This won a gold medal at the Great American Beer Fest in 1998. However, that was underneath a different brewer at the time. This one is 5.2% alcohol by volume, with 24 units of bitterness, which means we're going down on the bitterness. Yeah, in this one you can really smell that chocolate or caramel malt that they're using. It smells tradition to a brown ale on the light side. Let's give it a taste. The bitterness is dimmed down a bit from the last few that I had. What's disappointing to me in this one is a lot of times with brown ales, you get a really nice chocolate profile or caramel profile, and I did not get that. It is a sample, so sometimes it happens, and also my palate is not exactly clean after trying the other ones, so I don't want to completely blame the beer, but I've had some brown ales that really, that cocoa presence was really there, and this seems to be kind of missing that a little bit. Moving on to their seasonal ale. This is an Oktoberfest. There's no information on the beer about bitterness or alcohol because it is a seasonal, but we'll go ahead and give it a try anyway. Yeah, very much like your typical Marzen style beer. It's got like that dry fruit sensation mixed in with a caramel malt going on. I'm not a big Oktoberfest guy. This is okay, but I would not traditionally drink this like a full one. If I was to come back to it, I would not do that. That's okay. And last but certainly not least is their summer wheat. I don't know why this is last on the list, because usually a wheat ale you usually start out with. Maybe the brown ale would have been the last one. Nevertheless, that's how they do it, so that's how I'm doing it. This one ranks in at 4.3% alcohol by volume, and the bitter units of 8, so it's the lowest bitterness of all of them. I'm expecting this to be kind of like a Hefeweizen. Yeah, we got a big banana smell on this right off the rip. I didn't get any clove, which is sometimes present in a Hefeweizen or a wheat beer, but the banana is big. Yeah, big banana flavor. Even though I didn't detect the clove in the smell, big clove taste in the flavor. I actually like this one a lot. If I was in a mood for a wheat beer, I would probably drink a full one of these, but since I'm really not in that kind of mood, I'll probably get a larger glass of either the light lager or perhaps the pale ale. Those seem to be my favorite two of the 7. But this is also very good. Big fan of this. So anyway, that's 7 different beers at the Brewworks Brewery and the Boardwalk at Disney World, or Big River Brewing Company at the Boardwalk in Disney World. And that does it for this special episode. So until next time, cheers.